quantum creationism, and embedded evolution. Evolution theory need not be held to be inconsistent with belief in God. So much has been learned in the fields of biblical scholarship and of ancient history and prehistory since 1900 that the transcendence of traditional boundaries of knowledge have advanced routinely. Niels Bohr and quantum mechanics advances, Einstein and relativity, Albright, Rosenberg, and the biography of Abraham as a work of reason, historic speculation have their places along with cosmology, multiverse theory, and analysis of the books of the gospel of Jesus Christ. One must suspend skepticism and learn of interdisciplinary fields for oneself if one wishes to achieve a deeper awareness of the marvelous power and capacity of God to emanate beings. The universe and the mechanics of its structure, change, its temporal evolution, are a subset of God's creative nature. The proximate cause is not the first, and the first cause is not the necessary author of the temporal causes. Even Stephen Hawking was able to imagine a universe that begins without a dimension of time. Instead, time is a dimension of space that flips into juxtaposition with additional spatial dimension, later conferring upon a hypothetical cosmology the condition of a universe becoming without a beginning in time. Dr. Hawking's reduction of time and cosmology to a spatial dimension aside, the creator of all things, may not have a causal separation at all from all possible universes. All possible universes may exist as a reduction from within the nature of God. The contents of each temporal manifestation may be said to have a beginning in time whenever that beginning phenomenally occurs. Fortunately, we have Einstein's theory of relativity to help form concepts about the theological causal relativism of a phenomenal temporal universe or multiverse set within God's mind plans. A multiverse without a beginning in time, a la Hawking's, that flipped into temporality from dimensional unpacking in accord with the will of God is interesting to consider. All matter is known to be made of waveforms of subatomic particles. Electrons exist in all possible locations until measured when they are regarded as a point at a particular location. Perhaps an electron exists as an energy potential of crinkled space-time area that discharges to a particular location when measured. An intelligent Leibnizian monad, one-dimensional spiritual entity. Regarding a reading of Bose-Einstein condensates wherein the waves of atoms supercooled to within a degree of absolute zero resonate at one frequency, one can only wonder the possibilities for quantum entanglement experimentation on teleportation of electrons and photons. One must wonder what effect such waves, Bose-Einstein condensate field resonation, synchronicity would have upon the deeper associated fields of all possible locations in quantum uncertainty. If the universe began at absolute zero temperature instead of very hot, with the entirety of all crinkled space-time waveforms as a supercooled enigma in the void, we might wonder what that would comprise as an in itself. An infinite quantity of synchronized potential mass energy might be concentrated in an arbitrary, scalable waveform frozen in time with dimensions of infinite number folded superposition and associated in waveform synchronicity. Well, it is fun to speculate about cosmological physics. One might accept the premises of evolution within the 13.7 billion-year-old universe and yet place the entire universe and possibly multiverse as a phenomena of temporality, of motion, of waveforms within a project area of an omnipotent eternal God who surpasses the temporal not by outclassing it, but by being wholly other, as an eternal being transcending temporality. Time of 14 billion years may be as a second or less to the eternal God, or vice versa. It is simple to use the Neoplatonist philosopher Plotinus's Enneads as an example of a non-temporal God issuing a temporal universe, or multiverse, though one may also postulate the entire universe as a phenomenal waveform sequence created by God that mankind might experience phenomenally, existentially. The nature of time and of being of those waveforms are contingent upon the will of God to sustain the universe as it is. The ultimate explanation of waveforms as strings, membranes, or issued contingent denouement of energy lay outside material explanation within the spirit of God. Leibniz had the right sentiment on that topic with his one-dimensional spiritual monads, even if not exactly the right structural explanation. Within Rosenberg's criteria of Genesis, as written by the J&E writers, the problems that so many have found in the creation story are prevalently negated. J is said to have unknown of Sumerian history and their flood stories, is said to have known of Sumerian history and their flood stories, and simply added that on to her material recounting Abraham's migration from Sumer to Jerusalem and the Jordan Valley. History lost the origin of the undoubtedly true Sumerian stories, though stories that were also changed over
the thousands of years of telling before being written in cuneiform in the late 4th millennium BC. As Abraham naturally was evolved into developing a good relationship with God, the foundation for the later interactions of God with men and women of faith was set. The prophets and Jesus Christ would bring the living word of God to mankind through the origin. It was a humble and surprisingly logical evolution. The New Testament has very little to say about creation cosmology implicitly. More is said by Jesus about the end times than the beginning. The sayings of Matthew 24 could be consistent with numerous cosmological end-of-days scenarios, including a possible big rip from lambda space expansion in just 2 billion years. At some point in the future, space-time relativity may become artificially exploited for some reason, perhaps as a science project or even as common technology. Space-time segments may be repackaged in disconformal arrays, moving the future to the past. The stars may fall from the sky, moving south.